All right, let's dive into something pretty amazing today. We're talking about mitochondria. Yeah, those tiny powerhouses that fuel every cell in our bodies, and you know they have a huge impact on our energy levels, how we age, even brain power. It's all connected to these little guys. So for this deep dive, we're using mitochondrial function, energy, aging, and vitality as our guide. It's going to be good.
Oh, it's fascinating stuff. Most people don't realize just how much these microscopic structures affect us. I mean, we're talking about feeling energized, thinking clearly, even how well we age. It all comes down to these tiny power plants.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly are mitochondria, and where do we find them?
Okay, so picture this. Inside almost every cell in your body, you have these tiny energy factories. They're called mitochondria, and their job is to convert the food you eat into usable energy. It's like a power plant turning fuel into electricity for your entire house.
So that energy, the electricity, is what we call ATP, right?
It got it. That ATP is the energy currency of your cells, powering everything you do.
So how does cellular respiration fit into all of this?
That's the process these little power plants use. They break down glucose from carbs, fats, and even protein from your food, and they use that to create that ATP. And what's interesting is that even though these mitochondria are these incredible energy producers, they're also really vulnerable. Things like oxidative stress, toxins, even just getting older can damage them.
That makes sense. I definitely don't have the same energy I did in my 20s. Is that what mitochondrial dysfunction is all about?
It is. It plays a big role in how we age. And one of the biggest culprits is something called oxidative stress. So as mitochondria produce energy, they also create free radicals as a byproduct. And these free radicals, they're like unstable molecules that can damage the mitochondria's DNA over time. And then the mitochondria become less efficient.
So it's like rust building up in those power plants. What else contributes to this dysfunction?
Well, the DNA in the mitochondria, unlike the DNA in the nucleus of your cells, it doesn't have very good repair mechanisms. So as we age, mutations, they build up, and you end up with more and more dysfunctional mitochondria. Kind of like their repair crews are on strike.
I like that analogy. So it's not just the wear and tear, but the repair process itself that becomes a problem. What about NAD plus mate? I've been hearing a lot about that lately.
NAD plus MAID, that's a coenzyme that's vital for energy production. And guess what? Levels naturally decline with age. That's another big contributor to that sluggish feeling as we get older.
Ugh, it seems like everything's working against us.
Well, hold on. There's more. We also have chronic inflammation. Sometimes it's called inflammaging. You can think of it like a low-grade fire that's constantly burning, and you guessed it, it damages the mitochondria too. And if that wasn't enough, the creation of new mitochondria, something called mitochondrial biogenesis, also slows down as we age. So we're not replacing those worn-out power plants as quickly.
Okay, so we've got oxidative stress, DNA mutations,
Huh.
NAD plus decline, chronic inflammation, A&D reduced biogenesis, all contributing to mitochondrial dysfunction. That's a lot.
It is, but understanding what's happening at this microscopic level is really important because it helps explain why we experience so many of the common signs of aging.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if our mitochondria are like these tiny power plants that are slowly breaking down, what are some of the red flags that they're struggling? I bet our listeners wondering the same thing.
Well, one of the most obvious signs is a constant lack of energy. You know that feeling when you're just drained, even after you've had a good night's sleep? That could be a sign that your mitochondria aren't working as well as they could be, but it goes beyond feeling tired, too.
Beyond just fatigue, what else could it be?
Brain fog, having trouble remembering things or just not thinking clearly, and even cognitive decline, it can be linked back to mitochondrial dysfunction. So if you're having trouble focusing or just feeling like your brain's not firing on all cylinders, your mitochondria might be involved.
Interesting. I've definitely experienced those things myself, but I never thought to connect it to my mitochondria.
And we can't forget about muscle weakness, too. Not having the same strength and endurance you used to, that's all related to energy production as well. If your muscles aren't getting enough fuel, they're not going to perform as well.
It makes sense now that you mention it. I definitely feel that muscle weakness more than I used to. And I've heard that mitochondrial dysfunction can even impact our immune system. Like, we're more likely to get sick.
That's right, because every cell in your body needs energy to function properly, including the cells in your immune system. So if your mitochondria are struggling, your immune defenses might not be as strong, which means you're more susceptible to getting sick.
Wow, this is really starting to paint a picture of how much these tiny mitochondria impact our lives. It's not just feeling tired. It's brain fog, muscle weakness, a weaker immune system. Is there anything else?
Oh, yeah. How quickly you recover after you exercise can be affected too. If you're finding that it takes forever to bounce back after a workout, your mitochondria might be playing a role. And then there are things like digestive issues and even metabolic imbalances. Remember, your mitochondria are involved in metabolism, so if they're not working properly, it can affect how well you digest food and absorb nutrients.
It really is connected to everything, even premature aging and like wrinkles and stuff.
Get it. Those wrinkles, they might be a reflection of more than just the passage of time. They could be a sign of what's going on with your mitochondria.
This is getting a little overwhelming, to be honest. Feels like mitochondrial dysfunction is connected to just about every health problem.
I get it. It can feel like a lot. But here's the good news. You're not powerless. There are things you can do to support your mitochondria and even rejuvenate them.
Okay, now that's what I want to hear. Tell me more. What can we do to give those tiny power plants a much-needed tune-up?
The first step is making sure you're eating the right foods.
Okay, let's talk food. What are some changes our listeners can make to support those tiny energy factories?
One of the most important things is to increase your intake of healthy fats. Your mitochondria actually thrive on ketones, which are produced from healthy fats like avocados, olive oil, fatty fish.
So we're talking about the good fats, not the processed stuff.
Exactly. And speaking of processed foods, reducing your intake of those, along with sugary drinks, is also super important. High sugar intake, it actually fuels oxidative stress. And we already talked about how that's a major culprit in mitochondrial damage.
So healthy fats in, processed foods, and sugar out. Got it.
What else should our listeners be focusing on?
Eating foods that are packed with nutrients. Things like leafy greens, nuts, seeds. Those are all great choices.
Makes sense. Are there any specific nutrients you'd highlight as being extra important?
The source mentions a few key players like magnesium, CoQ10, B vitamins, and alpha-lipoic acid. Those are all particularly beneficial for mitochondrial function. I've heard of those. So we're talking about loading up on those nutrient-rich foods and maybe even considering some targeted supplements.
You got it. Now, here's something really interesting from the source. Intermittent fasting. It can actually promote mitochondrial biogenesis. It's like giving those little power plants a break so they can work more efficiently.
Wait, so skipping a meal now and then could actually help our bodies create new mitochondria?
That's what the research is showing. It's all about giving your body a chance to clean up those energy systems and recharge.
Wow, that is fascinating. Okay, so we've covered diet. What about exercise? Does that play a role in mitochondrial health as well?
Absolutely. Both aerobic exercise like jogging, cycling, swimming, and high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, have bit shown to boost mitochondrial function.
Interesting. I've been hearing good things about HIA workouts. What's so special about them when it comes to our mitochondria?
Well, HIIT involves those short bursts of intense exercise followed by brief recovery periods. It forces your mitochondria to work harder and adapt. That leads to increased efficiency, and you're able to generate more energy.
It's like putting those power plants through boot camp. What about strength training? I know that's good for building muscle, but does it benefit our mitochondria too?
Strength training is important, especially as we get older. As we age, we naturally lose muscle mass, and that leads to slower metabolism and less energy. Strength training can help fight back against that.
Okay, so we've talked about diet and exercise. What else can we do to give those mitochondria an extra boost?
Well, let's circle back to NAD plus ND. Remember, that's that crucial coenzyme that declines with age, and it leads to lower energy levels.
Yep, I remember. Are you going to tell me we need to start taking supplements?
Well, supplements can be helpful. The source mentions NMN and NR as promising options. They're basically precursors to NAD plus N, so they help your body produce more of it, which in turn supports your mitochondria.
NMN and NR. Those are a mouthful.
They stand for nicotinamide mononucleotide and nicotinamide riboside. But basically, just think of them as giving your body the building blocks to create more NAD plus A, which gives you more energy. And the good news is you can get some of those precursors through food, too.
Oh, that's good to know. So what kinds of foods are we talking about?
Things like eggs, dairy, and fermented foods are good sources.
Okay, so we can get some of those precursors from our diet and potentially boost them with supplements. What else does the source recommend?
It mentions something called sirtuin-activating compounds. These compounds, like resveratrol found in red wine and pterostilbene, can actually enhance NAD plus function.
Hold on, are you saying a glass of red wine could be beneficial for our mitochondria?
Well, possibly. Moderation is key, of course.
Hey.
But the research on resveratrol and its potential benefits for mitochondrial health is definitely interesting.
I like the sound of that. All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. Diet, exercise, NAD plus boosters. What about protecting those mitochondria from damage? We talked about free radicals earlier.
You're right. We can't forget about those. And that's where antioxidants come in. They're our best defense against free radical damage.
Antioxidants, like those found in fruits and vegetables.
Exactly. The source highlights a few key antioxidants for mitochondrial health. One is coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10 for short. It's a powerful antioxidant that helps protect your mitochondria from damage and supports their energy production.
I've definitely heard of CoQ10. It's in a lot of supplements, right?
Yep, you'll find it in supplements and some foods, and for good reason. It plays a big role in how your mitochondria produce energy.
CoQ10, check. What other antioxidants should we have on our radar?
Glutathione is another crucial one. It's actually often called the master antioxidant because it's so vital in protecting your cells from damage.
Glutathione, got it. Anything else?
And of course, we can't forget about vitamin C and E. They're both great antioxidants that help neutralize those free radicals and support cellular repair.
Okay, so we've got a whole team of antioxidants to protect our mitochondria. What about lifestyle changes? Can those impact our mitochondria too?
Absolutely. Lifestyle plays a huge role in mitochondrial health. Things like sleep, stress management, and even exposure to light can affect how well your mitochondria are functioning.
Okay, let's dig into that. What about sleep? How much should we be aiming for?
You want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. That's really important for giving those mitochondria time to repair and make more energy. It's like letting those power plants recharge after a long day.
So not just the quantity of sleep, but the quality matters too.
Exactly. Make sure your bedroom's dark, quiet, and cool. And put away the screens at least an hour before bed.
I know, I know. No more late night scrolling for me. What about light exposure during the day? Does that matter?
Getting some natural light first thing in the morning is a great way to regulate your circadian rhythm. That's your body's natural clock that governs your sleep-wake cycles.
So getting that morning sunshine actually helps us sleep better later on.
Exactly. And on the flip side, you want to reduce exposure to blue light before bed. Blue light, which comes from phones, laptops, TVs, it actually suppresses melatonin production. And melatonin's the hormone that helps you fall asleep.
Okay, blue light is out. Anything else we need to be aware of?
The source also mentions red light therapy. It's been getting some attention as a potential way to support mitochondrial function.
Red light therapy. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, it involves exposing your body to red and near-infrared light, which can actually penetrate deep into the tissues and stimulate cellular processes.
So like giving ourselves a dose of sunshine? What are the benefits of that?
Well, the research is still pretty new, but some studies suggest it might help increase ATP production, reduce oxidative stress, and even help with mitochondrial repair.
Wow, it seems like there's always something new to learn about how our bodies work. So we've got sleep, light exposure. What about stress? We all know stress is bad, but how does it actually impact our mitochondria?
When you're stressed, your body releases hormones like cortisol. And over time, high levels of cortisol can damage your mitochondria. It's like they're constantly under attack.
So it's not just about feeling frazzled. It's actually impacting our cells' ability to produce energy. That's crazy.
It really emphasizes how important stress management is for overall health. And luckily, there are so many effective ways to manage stress. Things like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing, spending time in nature, those can all help to calm your nervous system and reduce the negative impact of stress.
It's like building a fortress of resilience around those mitochondria, protecting them from the daily grind.
I like that. And remember, managing stress isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about protecting your long-term health and well-being.
It's an investment in our future selves. Anything else we can do to minimize stress's impact on those mitochondria?
Well, the source also suggests trying to reduce your exposure to things like environmental toxins, heavy metals, and pollutants as much as possible, because those can all contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction.
So being mindful of the products we use, the air we breathe, the water we drink, it's about taking a more holistic approach to our health.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. It's about recognizing those connections and realizing that there are so many things you can do to support your mitochondria.
This has been incredibly informative. It's amazing to me how much those tiny mitochondria impact our overall health and well-being.
They're truly remarkable, and the best part is that we have so much control over how well they function just by making healthy choices.
That's what's so empowering about all of this. It's not about passively accepting age-related decline. It's about taking proactive steps to support our health on a cellular level.
You've got it. It's about taking control and choosing a healthier, more vibrant future.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We've explored the science of how mitochondria work, what can go wrong, and those early warning signs to look out for. And we've started to unpack some of the key strategies for supporting those tiny energy factories. But there's so much more to explore. So join us in part 2 of this deep dive as we go even deeper into the world of mitochondrial health.
It really is amazing how much control we have over these tiny little factories, isn't it? Like, we can actually make choices today that directly impact how well our body's functioning, all the way down to each individual cell.
I know, I'm still thinking about all those connections we talked about. From brain fog to like muscle fatigue. So much of it comes back to how well our mitochondria are working. It really is like they hold the key to, unlocking a healthier, more vibrant life.
And, one of the things that's so empowering about all of this is that a lot of the things that support mitochondrial health are already things we know are part of a healthy lifestyle. It's not like we have to reinvent the wheel or anything. But now we understand why those things are important, at a deeper level.
Yeah, exactly. So this whole new layer of understanding. One thing that really stood out to me was that connection between NAD plus and aging. It's almost like this vital molecule is slowly draining away as we get older, and it's like taking our energy and our cellular function with it.
That's a great way to think about it. And what's so cool is that we actually have ways to replenish those NAD plus levels through our diet, supplements, and even lifestyle changes. Like, we can actually take some control over how we age instead of just letting it happen to us.
I love that. It's like we're not just passengers on this aging journey. We can actually grab the steering wheel.
Ah.
Okay, so let's circle back to that action plan for boosting mitochondrial health. We've touched on diet, exercise, and those NAD plus boosters. What else can we do to optimize those tiny energy factories?
Okay, yeah, let's get into some more of those strategies. So remember those free radicals we talked about, the ones that damage our mitochondria? Antioxidants are key for protecting against those.
Right, antioxidants. I know they're found in things like fruits and vegetables, but can you remind me what they're actually doing for our mitochondria?
Think of antioxidants like little cellular superheroes, fighting off those free radical villains. And there are some that are especially powerful when it comes to mitochondrial health. The source mentions CoQ10, glutathione, and vitamin C and E as being really important for neutralizing those harmful free radicals and keeping our mitochondria running smoothly.
Got it. So those colorful fruits and veggies, nuts, seeds, all that good stuff. What about supplements? Do those have a place here too?
Yeah, they can be helpful, especially as we get older and those natural antioxidant defenses might need a little extra help. You already mentioned CoQ10, and that's definitely one worth looking into.
CoQ10 is on the list. And we talked about glutathione, the leader of the antioxidant superhero squad. Is that right?
Pretty much. And of course, vitamin C and E are the classics, they're still important for overall cellular health and fighting off those free radicals.
All right, so we've got our diet and supplement game plan. Now, what about other lifestyle factors that impact those mitochondria? We touched on sleep earlier, right?
Sleep is super important. It's like giving those little power plants time to rest and recharge after a long day of producing energy. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is what you want to aim for.
7 to 9. I think I'm averaging more like 6 these days. So
Yeah.
like having a consistent sleep schedule, making sure my bedroom's nice and dark, all that matters.
Oh, yeah, it can make a big difference. And don't forget about those pre-sleep habits, too, like putting away the screens, dimming the lights, and just letting your body wind down naturally.
No more late night scrolling.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of optimizing our environment, what about all those environmental toxins we're exposed to on a daily basis?
It's easy to forget about that, but our surroundings have a huge impact on our health, all the way down to the cellular level. Things like air pollution, pesticides, even some cleaning products, they can all contribute to those mitochondria not working as well as they should.
It's not just what we're putting in our bodies, but what we're exposing our bodies to. So we need to be mindful of the air we breathe, the water we drink, the products we use.
Exactly. It's all connected. Now, here's something you might find interesting. Red light therapy has shown some promising results when it comes to supporting mitochondrial function.
Red light therapy, honestly, I don't know much about that.
Well, it involves exposing your body to red and near-infrared light. And this type of light, it can actually penetrate deep into your tissues and stimulate a lot of different cellular processes, including those in our mitochondria.
So almost like giving ourselves a dose of sunshine. What are the benefits of doing that?
It's still a pretty new area of research, but some studies are suggesting that red light therapy could potentially boost ATP production, reduce oxidative stress, and even support mitochondrial repair.
Okay, red light therapy. Definitely adding that to my research list. Now, we can't wrap up this conversation without talking about stress, right? I mean, it's such a big part of modern life, but how's it actually affecting our mitochondria?
So when we're feeling stressed out, our bodies release hormones like cortisol, and over time, having too much cortisol can actually damage our mitochondria. It's like they're constantly under attack.
So it's not just about feeling stressed and frazzled. It's actually impacting our cells' ability to, create energy. That's pretty wild.
I know, it's crazy, right? But it just highlights how important stress management is for our overall health. And luckily, there's so many different things we can do to manage stress effectively. Things like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing exercises, even just spending time in nature. All of those things can help calm your nervous system and just reduce that negative impact stress has on our bodies.
It's like we're building that fortress of resilience around those mitochondria,
Right.
protecting them from all the stress of daily life.
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling better right now. It's about protecting your health for the long haul. Earlier you were talking about how you feel like you have less energy as you get older. Well, exercise can be really helpful for that.
Exercise, huh? Tell me more about how that benefits those little powerhouses.
Think of exercise as like giving your mitochondria superpowers. It stimulates the creation of new mitochondria, which is called mitochondrial biogenesis, and it makes those existing mitochondria more efficient at producing energy.
So it's not just about burning calories and building muscle. It's about actually like upgrading our energy production
Yeah.
system. Cool. What kind of exercise is best for that?
Aerobic exercise, things like running, swimming, cycling, that's really great for increasing the number of mitochondria in your muscle cells. That's like you're expanding the energy production capacity of your body.
Got it. Aerobic exercise is like building more power plants.
Yeah.
What about those HIT workouts I've been hearing so much about? How do those affect the mitochondria?
Oh, HIT is amazing for mitochondrial health. Those short bursts of intense activity followed by short recovery periods, they really push your mitochondria to adapt, and it makes them more efficient and able to handle those higher energy demands.
It's like giving those power plants a serious workout. But what about strength training? Where does that fit into all of this?
Strength training is super important, especially as we age. We naturally start losing muscle mass as we get older, and that contributes to a slower metabolism and lower energy levels. Strength training helps to counteract all of that.
So lifting weights is like strengthening the foundation for our energy production system. It's really all coming together now.
I love that analogy. And the great thing about exercise is there's something out there for everyone. Find something you enjoy that you can stick with. Whether it's dancing, hiking, even just taking brisk walks, it all counts.
Movement is medicine. It's so empowering to realize that we have so much control over our mitochondrial health.
It is. It's a pretty remarkable system, and the more we learn about it, the more we can make choices that support a long, healthy, and vibrant life.
This deep dive has been amazing. I'm honestly feeling so much more informed and kind of hopeful, too, about all of this. But before we wrap things up, there's one thing I'm curious about. So we talked about how mitochondrial decline is kind of a natural part of aging, but the source also mentioned that we can actually slow down that decline and even, like, reverse some of the damage. Is that really possible?
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the most exciting areas of research right now is like this whole shift in thinking, moving away from this idea that we just have to passively accept aging and realizing that we can actually be active participants in this process.
So it's not about denying aging, but understanding that we have, like, more influence than we might think.
Exactly. It starts with understanding the science behind how our bodies age and what we can do to support those processes that keep us feeling good, those cellular processes that keep us energized.
I love that. So it's not just about living longer. It's about living better, right?
Yeah.
With more vitality, more resilience, feeling good in our bodies as we age.
That's the goal, isn't it? Aging gracefully and maintaining our health and well-being for as long as possible. And, there's something we haven't talked about yet that I think is really important here, the power of connection.
Connection. That's an interesting one. How does that tie into mitochondrial health?
Well, research has shown that strong social connections, like a sense of belonging, can actually have a really positive impact on our health at the cellular level, including our mitochondria.
So like spending time with loved ones, nurturing our friendships, being part of a community. Those things can actually benefit those tiny powerhouses. That's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. It's like our well-being is this interconnected web. It's not just what we eat and how much we exercise. It's about the relationships we cultivate, the communities we're part of, all of it.
I've definitely noticed that when I'm feeling isolated or lonely, my energy levels just plummet. Like my whole system is off.
And that makes sense. I mean, we're social creatures, right?
Mm.
We thrive when we have those connections that feel meaningful. And that positive energy seems to, like, trickle down to a cellular level.
So it's not just about the number of relationships, it's about the quality of those relationships too.
Absolutely. It's about prioritizing the connections that bring us joy, that make us feel supported, understood.
This whole conversation has really opened my eyes to that. I think it's so easy to get caught up in everything we have to do and just forget about, like, making time for those connections that make us feel good.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not just about feeling good. Having those strong connections can actually impact how we age. There are studies that have shown that people with strong social ties tend to live longer, healthier lives.
It really is all connected, isn't it? Our
Mhm.
physical health, our mental well-being, our social lives, it's all intertwined.
It is. And that's the beauty of this whole approach to health and well-being. It's not about trying to isolate one aspect of our lives and fix it. It's about recognizing that everything's connected, everything's working together to create this supportive, nourishing environment for our bodies and minds to thrive.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We started with these tiny little structures, mitochondria, and we ended up exploring the power of human connection.
It's amazing what we can learn when we take a closer look, isn't it? And the more we understand about these processes, the more empowered we become to make choices that support our health and well-being.
I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of mitochondrial health, is there one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I want everyone to remember that they have more control over their health and well-being than they might realize. Just by understanding how our bodies work, and specifically how those amazing little mitochondria work, we can start making choices that lead to a more vibrant and fulfilling life.
I love that. So to our listeners, we encourage you to take what you've learned and apply it to your own life. Experiment, explore, and discover what works best for you. Remember, it's a journey.
And don't underestimate the power of taking small, consistent steps. Those little daily choices you make, they can really add up over time and make a big difference in how you feel.
Thank you for joining us for this amazing deep dive into the world of mitochondrial health. We hope you learned something new today and maybe feel a little bit inspired to take charge of your own well-being. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep those powerhouses humming.